Your Honors, good afternoon.
Good
This is
afternoon.
this is a continuation of the public panel interview by the Judicial and Bar Council of candidates for the position of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals, the Court of Tax Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan. Your Honors, the candidates for interview this afternoon are the following: Judge Ana Marie T. Mas and Judge Phoebe C. Mir. Both are applying for the position of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals, the Court of Tax Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan. May I request the candidates to please raise your right hand so that I can administer the oath? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this public panel interview by the Judicial and Bar Council?
Yes, I do.
So help you God.
Thank you.
Your Honors, the first to be interviewed will be Judge Mas. And the first interviewer will be the Honorable Judge Franklin J. De Monteverde. Judge De Monteverde, sir.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Ed.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Judge Mas.
Good afternoon, sir. Good
Yeah.
afternoon, Your Honor.
How are you?
I'm good.
Are you nervous or sleepy?
Both.
Anyway, you are the presiding judge of the RTC Branch 52 in Manila.
Yes, sir.
And how long have you been there?
Since I was appointed since April 2015, sir.
2015.
15.
Okay. What's your caseload?
As of September, October, 131.
131.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Now, I was going over your professional trip, no? And I found out that you have been to several places in so
Yes, sir.
short a time. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You from Manila, you went to Mandaluyong.
Yes, sir.
And then after 3 years, you were a state prosecutor. Another 3 years. And then ito, na-appoint ka sa Antique.
I was
But you stayed there for only 1 year. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Oh, how was Antique at that time?
The caseload there, sir, when I left, mga around 50 cases.
50 cases lang.
Yeah.
And then from there, you didn't stay long because from there you were appointed as acting presiding judge in Antipolo.
Before that, sir, I was designated as a assisting judge of Branch 59, MPTC
Mandaluyong.
Mandaluyong. Yes, sir.
Then from Mandaluyong, Antipolo.
At the same time, sir, I was designated as acting presiding judge of Branch 2, Antipolo.
Okay. You even were appointed sa Quezon City, no? Kaya lang malapit lang naman ito eh.
After when Branch 2 Antipolo, sir, the regular presiding judge was appointed there. I was transferred and designated as acting presiding judge of 43 Quezon City.
So what did you learn from this, Judge Mas, from your travels from one office to another?
Sir, I was able to handle several kinds of cases from the province to the city. So there are different types of cases that I was able to handle.
Okay. Now, you passed the bar on your second try.
Yes, sir.
And when did you pass the bar?
I took the bar 2000 and I passed 2001.
2001.
Yeah.
Okay. But in your record, there's one here, your first work with the Office of L.A. Kisumbing at the Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
1998 to 1999 as court attorney 4.
Yes, sir.
But at that time, you were not yet a lawyer, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Because you passed the bar in 2001.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
So after I was the executive assistant 3 in the office of Justice Regalado, and when he retired, I was transferred in the office of Justice Kisumbing, having an item of court attorney 4.
Was that possible?
Uh,
You were not yet a lawyer at that time, and yet you occupied a position
I don't.
requiring.
I'm not
the-
aware, sir, but I was appointed.
Ah, okay, so let's
But
go to your.
I did not stay long there, sir, because I have to go resign and go home to our province.
You were born in Antique.
No, sir. I was, for purposes of birth, in the city of Manila, but I grew up in San Jose, Occidental Mindoro.
Okay. Okay, let's go to your academics. Give us insight into your scholastic travels from the elementary up to the time you took up College of Law.
I finished elementary and high school at the Divine Word College, San Jose, Mindoro, sir. And
Okay.
then I graduated in Santa Isabel College in Manila with a degree of Bachelor of Science, major in Management. And then I graduated in the Bachelor's of Law in the University of the East.
What year was that?
1996.
96. Okay. So you didn't take the bar immediately after
Yes, sir.
graduating? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any master's degree?
Well, I graduated last August 2019, Masters of Law in San Beda University.
Okay. Now there's a notation here that there is a case filed against you by a certain Jimmy Patricio, which is still pending. What is this all about?
Sir, it was already closed and terminated by the Supreme Court.
Ganun ba?
Yes,
Kailan?
sir.
Kailan?
May I be allowed to
Yes,
check on my
because
record, sir?
because the record shows that it's still pending.
In the third division notice dated October 2, 2003.
2003 pa?
2013. Sorry, sir.
13, okay.
2013. The instant matter is closed and terminated. I attach it in,
In your application?
yes, sir, in letter O, tab letter O.
Ba't lumalabas dito na still pending? So for the record, it was terminated
Closed and terminated,
in
yes.
2013.
Yeah. Actually, sir, it was dismissed by the Supreme Court without us requiring to file comment.
Okay, sige. Now going to your medical records, you seem to be physically fit and medically fit also. But there's one here, certain findings that you have an aortic sclerosis. Ano ito?
I'm not also aware of that, sir. In
It
my,
has to do with your heart sa kanya, aorta. Hindi mo alam?
no, sir, but as per my cousin who is a cardiologist, she gave me a good
Clean bill of health.
clean bill of health, sir.
Sige, be that as it may.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Now, you opted to apply for all the vacancies opened in the Sandigan Bayan, Court of Appeals, and Court of Tax Appeals. Which among the three do you prefer for
Court of Appeals, sir.
Court of Appeals? Second,
Sandigan Bayan.
Sandigan, the last is the Court of
The
Tax
Court of
Appeals.
Tax Appeals.
Any experience or background on taxation? Kung bakit nailagay mo pang Court of Tax Appeals?
I have accounting 1 and 2, 3 and 4 during college, sir.
That's the basic yan.
Yes.
Oh. And by the way, how did you fare sa bar, sa taxation?
I think I got a passing grade, sir.
Kaya siguro nag-apply sa CTA.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Hindi talaga, wala kang background, no?
Wala,
On,
sir.
wala. Okay.
I got a 79 in
Huh?
taxation.
79? That's good. I got 69.
Thank you,
Both
sir.
the taxation and our labor laws we took that for another week. So instead of 4 weeks, we took the bar exams in 5 weeks.
Okay.
Kasi may mga leakage noon marami. Okay. Now, should you be appointed, what judicial camp or ideology will you pursue in deciding cases?
Sir,
The conservative believing in originalism or the liberal believing in a living constitution?
I will decide, sir, based on the law and
Okay.
what our jurisprudence would establish, and also taking also into account the present situation.
So between the two,
Mm,
which
the
of
last
two?
one, sir.
The liberal one,
Yes, sir.
believing in a living constitution.
Yes, sir.
Oh, is that all? Wala
Yes,
ka
sir.
nang masasabi pa ng iba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Starting November 2, natapos na. It started November 2, 2020. Trial courts can impose community service for a crime or offense which imposable penalty is arresto menor or arresto mayor in a bid to promote restorative justice and to decongest jails. Do you think this is a good move to promote restorative justice? Your
Yes,
take
sir.
on this?
Yes, sir. Because everybody got a second chance, because sometimes people would commit crime out of necessity or the circumstances would put in there. And also, it only, what do you call that? It only reinforce the provision in the probation law wherein people convicted of a crime are given a second chance, a second clean bill of clean bill of health, sir.
When can one undergo a restorative justice?
Well, sir, the fact that they have suffered imprisonment, and then during their imprisonment, they realize that they have committed mistake, and they have asked forgiveness, not only from the victim but also from the Lord. I think they deserve a second chance.
What about community service?
That's a good way of serving or serving the penalty imposed by the court, Your Honor. It has two purposes, that the convicted person, or the what you call the applicant for community service, would realize that they have to suffer, not really inside the prison, but they have to work for it so that they can serve the penalty imposed by the court, not out inside the court, but also outside of the jail.
Now, is restorative justice necessarily the opposite of retribution? Retributive justice.
Yes, sir.
Explain.
Well, you have to ask forgiveness, and you have to suffer for the consequences of your action.
In retribution.
Yes, sir.
Now, what can you say about, you have been the RTC judge for 5 years, and prior to that for several years as a metropolitan trial judge. So, what can you say about jail congestion?
Well, sir, there are several factors why the court is congested with uh, cases.
Mhm.
Like for my case, sir, last 2013-14, when I was the acting presiding judge of Quezon City, there was a program sponsored by I think, Abaroli or the USAID,
Okay.
wherein the whole court of Quezon City was put under the congestion program. It's a non non it's a decongestion program wherein several people help the court to decongest the aging cases, and it was successful because since it is a non-putative program, uh, some of those cases that were sit on by the court were resolved or disposed of, sir. That's why from my caseload from 800 plus, it was reduced into 400 plus because
Did the
there's no
okay,
administrative penalty from the branch clerk or from the judge, on the part of the judge.
did the IBP chapter there help in decongesting jails?
Mm, in a way, sir, because they they render their service for the uh, less fortunate people, like those who cannot avail the services of a counsel. They assist
In what?
in in the resolution or disposition of their cases. Like they represent those indigent clients.
When I was president of our local chapter here, IBP, that was in 2001 to 2003. The Supreme Court had a program on how to decongest jail, and we were tasked. The IBP chapters were tasked to help in this. And from my point, we hired paralegals consisting of third year and fourth years College of Law students, and looked over the records of the different jails here in the province, and try to decipher on whether a certain prisoner had already served his minimum service. And from there, we help in appearing before the court, the paralegals asking for, they were doing the legwork. Did your IBP chapter do that?
Yes, sir. There are indigent clients that are being represented by the IBP.
Yes, I know. But did they help in decongesting by looking for paralegals and looking over the records of the different jails and see whether a certain prisoner had already served his minimum service?
during
His
the,
penalty.
the during the decongestion, sir,
Yes,
program.
during the
The
decongestion.
the decongestion program, sir, is composed of several teams, and
Mm-hmm.
the team is headed, I think, by one of the judicial officer in the Supreme Court, and there's a lawyer from the IBP. There are law
Mm-hmm.
students. There are Supreme Court employees, OCAD employees that help in the inventory, the actual inventory of the cases,
Okay.
and they they make a list of cases that need to be acted upon, like it must be set for hearing. There are motions that are pending that need to be resolved. There are cases that need to be archived, and there are cases that need to be executed or enforced.
And they
And
were successful in it.
Yes, sir.
So
They
much
are.
so that your docket has gone down.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It was composed by a team as if they were conducting a judicial audit in some courts, but
Okay.
it has no administrative penalty on the part of the court staff, the branch clerk, or the judge.
Now, Judge, you're only 50 years old, no?
Yes, sir.
And you still have a long time to serve in the judiciary should you be appointed. And that being said, what is your vision for the future of our judicial system?
Sir, there should be a speedy disposition of cases, the availability of services to the indigent people, that it should be the court should be open to the public for legal help or assistance, and the information that they need regarding the case. They should be an efficient court, sir. Affordable, speedy, and efficient court.
Now, relative to that, what changes would you advocate and why?
Well, sir, if I'll be, in God's grace, be appointed as Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals, I'll immediately conduct inventory of cases that will be raffled to me, and then I'll have it age, and I'll resolve those cases that are already old and need an immediate action, depending on the nature of the case.
Now,
I-
sige, continue.
I give priority, sir, to those cases that are old and to those cases where the accused are detained, and those with prayer for injunction for immediate relief.
So, in a scholarly article of Gibler and Randazzo, it was mentioned that measuring judicial independence requires one to examine whether the court will act against the political branches in salient cases. This will be my last question. What can you say about this?
Sir, the a judge or a justice should act based on what is the fact of the law, and what is the law or what the jurisprudence says in relation to what is the facts of the case. So they should base their decision on that premise and not on the influence by other factors, sir.
Okay, Judge Mas, that was my last question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time likewise, and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
And
stay
keep safe.
safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
Attorney
very
Ann?
much.
Okay. Thank you,
Very
Attorney
much,
Ann.
Honorable Judge de Monteverde. To interview Judge Mas, next is Honorable Justice Noel Jimenez Pihan.
Thank you, Attorney Ann. Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon, Justice.
I was looking at your SAL-N, and your net worth rises on a yearly basis by almost 1 million. Is it because you're frugal, or is it because you're single?
Both, sir. As you can notice, sir,
You don't spend much for food, for entertainment, and other things?
I do, sir, but not that extravagant, sir. As you can see, sir, I'm just using a Honda City as my service, because it's more practical.
All right. I'll ask you a question. If you are appointed as a magistrate in the appellate court and a case is assigned to you and you evaluated it and you found it to be meritorious, okay, meritorious. But then the party litigant and or his lawyer approach you and offer you a bribe regarding that case, which is meritorious. What will you do?
Sir, of course, I will reject it. I base my decision based on the merit.
Will you inhibit from the case?
No, sir, because at the first place, I already studied the case and found it that it should be decided on the merit and this like this one or on this theory. So I'll just decide it as what I have studied.
Will it not affect your attitude towards that particular litigant or lawyer because they offered you a bribe?
No, sir, because I have already rejected them and let's wait for or just wait for the resolution of the decision.
What is this opposition filed by a certain Rene Golanco? Is he the one famous person
Yes, sir, from Mandaluyong.
from Mandaluyong?
Yes, sir.
The Supreme Court, in the case of People versus Sapla, you remember the one penned by Justice Kagiwa,
Yes, sir.
held that the war against illegal drugs, which tramples on the rights of the people, is not a war on drugs. It is a war against the people. Can you give me an example of a war against drugs which does not trample on the rights of the people?
Mm, if the law enforcers, sir, are following the guidelines or the the guidelines set by the law, there's no way that the rights of the people will be violated. So they would say that it's a war against the people because the the guidelines or the implementing rules and regulations or the law itself are not followed. But if we will follow it from the letters, there will be no way that the rights of the people will be violated in pursuing the war against drugs.
What about people who sell marijuana for medicinal purposes? Are they exercising a valid health right?
Uh, I'm not sure, sir, if there's already a law legalizing the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes here. Assuming that there's already a law authorizing or legalizing the use of marijuana for medical purposes, it is not illegal, sir.
Supposing there is no law, I think there's a bill in Congress. I'm not sure if that's been passed into law. Supposing there is no law legalizing the use of marijuana and a person uses it for medicinal purposes, will you take that into account as a mitigating circumstance?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Because for health reason.
What about a person who is destitute, who is poor, selling drugs to earn a livelihood during this term of pandemic? Is he exercising a valid economic right?
No, sir.
And you will not take that into account as a mitigating circumstance.
No, sir.
Why not?
Because that's the law.
Can you explain to me your understanding of the exclusionary rule?
Evidences that were procured or secured illegally cannot be admitted in court, sir.
Obtained illegally. Can you give me an
Yeah.
example?
Like for example, sir, those effects or drugs that were confiscated in violation of the rights of the person to be secured in his person, or confiscated without a valid search warrant.
Can you apply the exclusionary rule in civil cases?
Yes, sir.
Give me an example.
Like for example, sir, documents that were secured through fraud that cannot be given evidentiary weight.
So that's an example of the exclusionary rule, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. In a given situation, the police are watching a building suspected of engaging in drug operations. Suddenly, a man comes out of the building, and while walking through the parking lot, that person is stopped by the police. And he was asked to produce his identification, his ID. So the man gave his ID. It could be a driver's license. And the police check it with headquarters. And they found out that he is facing a traffic violation. And there is a pending warrant for him. And so they arrested him, searched his body, and they found drugs. Question: are the drugs admissible in a prosecution for drug possession?
First of all, sir, going out of of a building is not a crime. So the act of the policeman in searching him is illegal.
Was he searched because he was walking? He was searched because he was asked for his identification,
Yes, sir.
and the police. Is there anything wrong for asking the ID?
No,
Nothing.
sir. Nothing is wrong.
They check it with headquarters, and there is a pending warrant for a traffic violation.
Mhm.
So, was this search valid?
No, sir, because it is not what do you call that? It is not incidental to a lawful arrest.
So, what is the effect of the exclusionary rule? The evidence is not admissible. That's what you said.
Yes, sir. Cannot, yeah. Because it's the fruit of foreign solicity.
Okay. So, the evidence collected by the police cannot be admitted in court because it resulted from a misconduct on the part of the police. Can the police plead good faith as an exception to the exclusionary rule?
No, sir. The regularity of regularity in the performance of their duty cannot be a exemption or a defense in cases of unlawful violation of the rights of the people to be secure in their persons and houses.
Yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court decided a case involving uh, government restriction on attendance in churches and synagogues. All right. Several months ago, a petition was filed in California and in Nevada, wherein the petitioners question the constitutionality of a restriction by government limiting the number of attendees in church and synagogues to only a few, all right? And by a vote of 4-4, the Supreme Court denied the petition. All right. Now, yesterday, the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Brooklyn, New York, and the synagogues of Jewish synagogues filed a petition against the governor of New York, Cuomo. And by a vote of 5-4, the Supreme Court granted the petition. Now, if a similar case is filed in the Philippines, questioning the health protocols promulgated by the IATF, limiting the number of parishioners to only 10 or maximum of 25, when in fact the churches can accommodate 1,000. And considering that in malls, in some restaurants, there is no limitation to that minimum number. And if the case is raffled to you, how will you decide the case?
Sir, I will follow what is the health protocol as implemented by the task force, because in time of pandemic, safety or health safety or everybody is paramount.
Health safety is paramount.
Yeah.
So the police power of the state is more paramount than the constitutional rights of movement of the citizens of this country.
Yes, sir. Because it is for the good of everybody. And it is only for a limited time during the time of pandemic.
But how do you know that it is for a limited time when you do not know when the pandemic will end?
There's already a vaccine, 95% efficiency.
Okay.
Anyway, sir, the provision is not really permanent, depending on the present situation. So
All right.
if
Following your argument that public health is
as
more
of this
paramount,
time, as of this time,
than the constitutional rights of Filipinos, if a vaccine is already available, can commercial establishments, churches, deny the entry of persons who have not been vaccinated because of public health concern? That was your line of argument. Public health is more paramount.
can the individual enforce it against the...
Vaccination, which begs the question, can vaccination be made mandatory because of public health?
Only those who are willing to undergo vaccination.
Yes or no?
Come again, sir?
Be mandatory? Vaccination should be mandatory?
No, sir. Only those who are willing.
Only
But with regards...
All right. So, can the restaurant owners, the mall owners, commercial establishment owners refuse entry to people who have not been vaccinated because of public health concerns?
Yes, sir.
That's your kind of argument.
Yes, sir.
So they can.
Yes, sir. Because an individual have the choice whether to enter that restaurant or not. And that individual...
No certificate of vaccination, you can be validly deny entry.
Yes, sir.
You can be
Because
deny
you cannot enforce your right over a private person.
And then you said vaccination cannot be made compulsory because of health requirements.
Yes, sir.
What about the wearing of masks for health requirements? Should it not be made voluntary?
No,
Follow
sir.
your
It
line of
should be
argument.
if you're inside your house, sir, yeah, you
No, we're
can
not talking of inside your
yeah.
house,
But if you're going outside, you are required to wear a face mask or
so a mask is mandatory
yes, sir.
according to you, but vaccination is not mandatory,
Yes,
even
sir.
for health
It it
reasons.
it 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 depends on the person, sir, if they are willing to undergo vaccination.
All right.
Because if you are not afflicted by COVID, so why have a vaccination?
Is the power to grant executive clemency rest solely upon the president?
Yes, sir.
Are there limitations to the power of the president to grant clemency or pardon?
No, sir.
Can the president, under the doctrine of qualified political agency, delegate the authority to pardon prisoners?
Maybe he can ask for recommendation, list of person who are qualified to be pardoned or qualified to have uh, qualified for executive clemency. But the
Is the pardoning power of the president absolute?
yes, sir.
He can pardon anybody.
Yes, sir.
Anybody and everybody who have committed a crime, he can pardon them.
Yes, sir.
Are there no exceptions under the Constitution?
No, sir.
Impeachable officers, if they're impeached, can they be pardoned by the president?
No.
Yes or no?
No, sir.
So that's an exception.
That's an exception.
Who else cannot be pardoned? The case is still on appeal.
Yes,
Can
sir. Yeah. Oh,
be
yes,
pardoned.
sir. Those pending cases, of course, you cannot pardon.
Election offenses, can it be pardoned?
No, sir.
Oh, all right. That is my last question, Judge. And you are from Mandaluyong?
No,
Most or
most I
you
work most of my years, sir, in
work
Mandaluyong.
with Justice Andy Reyes, correct?
Yes, sir, in the Court of Appeals as court attorney for.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Judge, and
Thank
good
you,
luck.
sir, and stay safe, sir.
You too.
Okay, thank you.
And stay
Thank you
single.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, Justice Piham. The next to interview Judge Mas is Honorable Judge Toribio E. Ilaw Jr. Your Honor, please.
Yes, thank you, Attorney Yan. Yes, good afternoon, Judge Mas.
Good afternoon, Justice.
Okay, buenas tardes. Mas is a Spanish term for what's the meaning of mas in English?
More.
More. But still remember, it was used by a certain middleweight boxer during that time. He quit on the 7th round, saying no mas, no mas, no mas. So it's enough. So would you rather continue?
Yes, sir.
No, not no mas, no mas.
So,
All right. From the Justice Tiham's questions dealing with a current event. Now, let's go to another current event. What are your thoughts on the recent deaths of judges and lawyers? Recently, another lawyer from Cebu has been allegedly ambushed. Another lawyer from UP who graduated from UP is missing for 5 days. That's aside from the tragic death of a certain judge in
Yes,
Manila.
sir.
What do you think could be done by defense to
Sir?
help address this issue and thereby give some meaning to their deaths?
Come again, sir?
What are your thoughts on the recent deaths of judges and lawyers?
Well, we have to determine who is the killer and give justice to their death there, sir. And the recent death of our colleague in Manila uh, made us realize that we are not safe even inside our courtroom.
Is the seminar for national or security of a judge or judges enough? That is arming all judges or availing securities?
I think we have to be trained how to identify possible danger or attack. Not necessarily arming us, but the ability to identify and avoid.
Likewise, from the question of authority, Justice Tiham, with such sort of observation of your yearly, you have an increase of your net worth in the SAL end. And what was the reason? Being frugal,
Frugal.
but and you also mentioned that you are still single.
Yes, sir.
How is single blessedness? Is this by choice or by chance?
Both, sir.
Both. Could you explain?
Well, sir, I'm still waiting for a brave man.
So must still more, more brave.
Yeah.
All right. Again, records appear that you took the bar exams twice.
Yes, sir.
And what was the difference in your methods when you reviewed for the second time?
Sir, I read the law and jurisprudence.
And what life lessons did you learn?
Try and try.
And try. And also in the application, following the dictum of then Chief Justice Bersamin, try and try.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's no filing fee.
Yes.
But this is the first time you applied for the associate in the appellate courts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you are applying for all appellate courts with vacancies, the Court of Appeals, the Court of Tax Appeals, and Sandigan Bayan.
Yes, sir.
All or nothing. If you, all right, if you were to look at your qualifications and experience, however, which court do you think you could contribute best?
In the Court of Appeal, sir.
Why?
Because I have personal experience working in the Court of Appeals.
And as part of the Court of Appeals, you will also manage your office,
Yes, sir.
especially your docket.
Yes,
And
sir.
how do you plan to manage your court docket? and submit your ponencia on time if and when you're appointed as an associate justice.
Sir, as I previously answered, I think Justice Tiham, I'll immediately make an inventory of the cases that will be raffled or assigned to me, and according to age, sir, and if the case is or if the party is detained, I'll give in priority to those cases.
And okay, and again, let's go back to your 2 times taking the bar. Why should you be nominated over other applicants who have hurdled the bar exams on their first attempt?
Maybe, sir, by the time I was not yet ready, and on my second try, I was able to make it. And my performance, sir, since I was a state prosecutor, an MTC judge, and to the various courts where I was designated as acting and assisting judge, would show that before I left those courts, I reduced the caseload almost half of the cases, sir.
And likewise, it appears that the case filed against you for alleged violation of Republic Act 3019, that is Republic Act 386 and the revised penal code, while dismissed by the office of the city prosecutor. And you said that even it was subject to a petition for review, but recently it was dismissed.
What case, sir?
Case by a certain filed against you by Jimmy Patricio.
Yes, sir. It was a case before. Originally, sir, as far as I can recall, because I was not really aware of this case, I came to know of this case when I received the resolution of the OCAD dismissing the case. As far as I can recall, sir, this case was, I think, originally filed in the ombudsman, and it was forwarded to the court administrator for appropriate action, and it was dismissed by the court administrator without us requiring to comment on the complaint.
And when did you receive a copy of the resolution dismissing the case?
October 2, 2013, sir.
2013. But
Yeah.
And you did not disclose this in your PDS?
I did, sir. I attached a copy of the resolution in the documents I submitted to the JBC. It was tagged as O, letter O.
When was this? When?
When
Because my record does not reveal anyone. Because I still remember in the PDS, in the last page thereof, states that any concealment in therein is a ground for disqualification.
Yes, sir. I place it, sir, in page 5 of my PDS. It was a IPI case.
All right, questions about your SALN. In your 2019 SALN, there is a cash on hand line item, but there is no declaration on deposits or cash on bank. Do you mean to include such deposits in your cash on hand?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Because I just add up all my cash deposits, sir.
That may be the reason why it turned out that you have 6 million worth of deposits according to your bank certifications?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go to. Are you abreast with recent legal developments or recent cases promulgated by the Supreme Court?
I do check the website of the Supreme Court once in a while, sir, the e-library.
All right. In one case, what are the requirements of a valid search warrant?
It must be issued by a judge based on a probable cause after a personal examination on the applicant and his witnesses, sir.
And what will happen in the absence of any of the requisites?
Search warrant will not be issued, sir.
You're also applying as an Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals. Court of Tax Appeals, sorry.
Yes, sir.
All right, section 228 of the National Internal Revenue Code mandates the issuance of a final assessment notice. What are the requisites thereof? Its effect and rationale.
Final assessment notice. That assessment notice must indicate the name of the taxpayer, the amount due, and the detailed items and the corresponding amount and the total tax due, sir. And how the commissioner or the revenue officer was able to come out with the tax amount due, sir.
Very good. What do you consider your greatest accomplishment as a magistrate that makes you worthy of a promotion? What is a given
Sir,
one?
my dedication to work, sir, and my experience, my records would show that I can, modesty aside, every courts that I was designated or assigned, sir, I was able to reduce the caseload almost half, sir.
What have you contributed to
The congestion, sir, and the clogging of the
nation building?
caseload.
No, respect to the nation building. By the way, what's your sala? What your court?
RTC Branch 52, sir, Manila.
Court of General Jurisdiction?
Yes, sir.
And what have you contributed to nation building?
Give justice to everyone, sir.
All right. Let's go to a psychological question. If you were a contestant in a televised talent show, what would you perform?
I'll sing, sir.
Why?
Because I can sing.
Can you share your talent to us?
Yes, sir.
Just
There's no karaoke, sir.
there's no karaoke. All right. All right, my last question, Judge. what day would yesterday be if Thursday was 4 days before the day after tomorrow?
Again, sir, what is day?
What day would yesterday be if Thursday was 4 days before the day after tomorrow?
Friday?
What day is today?
Friday.
Okay. Thank you.
It's just a wild guess, sir. Sorry.
Enemy must.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge Sandra. Thank you for your effort and thank you for, well, at least for a relief, just to
Yeah.
enlighten our moods. And good luck.
Thank you, sir, and stay safe, sir.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Honorable Judge Ilaw. The
Thank
last to
you.
interview Judge Mas is the Executive Committee Chairperson, Honorable Justice Jose Catral Mendoza.
Good afternoon, Judge. You are applying for all the three appellate court positions.
Yes, Justice.
Yes. And which court is your preference?
Court of Appeals, Justice.
Court of Appeals.
Yes, po.
You're willing to go to Mindanao.
Even in Cebu, sir.
Even if, okay. You want to go to the Court of Appeals. Give me the three categories. You have been with Justice or PJ Reyes in the Court of Appeals before, so you can easily answer this.
And also with Justice Alicia Santos, sir.
In the Court of Appeals.
Yes, sir.
So you can easily answer this. What are the three categories, general categories, where the Court of Appeals is allowed to receive evidence?
Those cases wherein he has original jurisdiction, sir, like annulment of the certiorari, mandamus, and prohibition, and those annulment of judgment based on newly discovered evidence in civil and criminal cases, sir, and habeas corpus. And
Those are under the category of original jurisdiction.
jurisdiction, yes,
What
sir.
are the two other categories?
Habeas corpus. Certiorari, prohibition, and mandamus.
You mentioned that already. That is covered under
Newly discovered evidence, sir, in criminal and civil cases.
yes, you covered that. And the other one, which is included in the phrase, in the third one.
Annulment of judgment.
No, that is covered by the first.
Those petition for writ of amparo, habeas data, writ of kalikasan.
Those are cases where the Court of Appeals has original jurisdiction. You answered them already. They are under one category. I'm asking the three categories.
I forgot, sir. Sorry.
Forgot? Oh,
Yeah.
you forgot. The other one, which is included in criminal cases, is the reception of evidence to prove damages.
Yeah.
Again, when? Tama? When is that? In what actions or proceeding? You said tama.
On appeal, sir.
That's very general.
I forgot the exact word.
But you said
it's the
tama
last
eh.
one.
You said tama.
Yes, sir.
And then
In
you- and then
cases
you-
where
and then you stop.
in cases, sir, where
Oh, I will help you.
Yeah.
When you evidence where you receive evidence to prove damages in case of provisional remedy.
provisional, yeah.
You
Provisional.
forgot.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you also
forgot that,
said
sir.
earlier that annulment of judgment based
Yes,
on
sir.
newly discovered evidence. That's your answer.
Yes, sir.
That's your answer. How many years have you been in the Court of Appeals?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Oh, oh. One of those cases where the Court of Appeals has original jurisdiction is annulment of judgment. And you said they are based on newly discovered evidence.
No, sir. Annulment of judgment. And then,
Annulment of judgment. You
yeah.
said earlier
Not
based on newly discovered evidence.
and those sir, annulment of judgment under rule
Kasi para hindi ka mahilo, Rule 47.
47, yeah.
Oh, kayang-kaya niya yan. Oh, what are those grounds?
Based on fraud, accident, mistake, and excusable negligence, and
You're
newly discovered evidence.
Oh, you're sure of your answer.
Yes, sir. That's
Oh.
2 grounds.
Oh, I think you have to review your rules again.
Yeah, sorry, sir.
In your jurisdiction, what are the post-judgment remedies?
Motion for reconsideration,
Yes.
motion for new trial,
Yes.
petition relief from judgment, and that's it. Appeal.
That's it.
Post-judgment, yeah.
Post-judgment. In the court of origin, what are those?
RTC, sir?
Yes, in the original court, in the RTC.
Yeah, yung
Post-judgment
motion for reconsideration,
Yes,
motion for new trial,
yes.
relief from judgment, and appeal.
Oh, you mentioned earlier annulment of judgment. You can invoke in an action for annulment of judgment.
Yes, sir.
You'll maintain that
In the RTC, sir?
the annulment of judgment petition.
Yes, sir. In the RTC, within.
There are only 2 grounds: lack of jurisdiction and extrinsic fraud. See, but you enumerated several grounds. Where do they belong? Where do they belong?
Nag-mix up na.
Nag-mix up na. Where do they belong? Those grounds. Where can you invoke those grounds?
In Court of Appeal, sir. In the annulment of judgment.
In what petition? I just mentioned
petition for review.
I just mentioned there are only 2 grounds. Oh, lack of jurisdiction and extrinsic fraud. Diba? You mentioned kanina fraud, accident, mistake, excusable negligence. No, where do you invoke those grounds? In what action?
Petition for review, sir.
In what remedy? In what remedy?
In the Court of Appeals.
So you can reopen again. A petition for review is filed. There are 2 major actions wherein you file a petition for review in the Court of Appeals. What are those?
This appeal from RTC, sir, to the Court of Appeals.
May I qualify it? Can you qualify it?
Based on on the ground of lack of jurisdiction on the part of the RTC and based on extrinsic fraud.
Those are annulment for grounds for annulment of judgment. When I said you qualify it, I was expecting you to say that where a decision is rendered by the RTC in the exercise of its appellate jurisdiction, right?
Yes, sir.
Now you remember, di ba? MHC cases are appealed to your sala.
Yes, sir.
Yes, di ba?
Mhm.
And after suppose you affirm it, or anyway, you render a decision. Where can the parties go? They go to the Court of Appeals. On
For
what?
petition for
For
review.
review under rule what?
Certiorari, sir.
That is 65.
65
42, that's 42. What is rule 43? You stayed in the Court of Appeals for how many years?
Appeal for decision of the quasi-judicial body, sir.
43.
43,
42 yung ano.
Sa
Okay.
RTC to CA.
Oh, you were fond of mentioning fraud, lack of jurisdiction, and extrinsic fraud. What is intrinsic fraud?
It is irregularities committed during trial, sir.
During trial, suppose the other party prevents the another party from adducing evidence. That's your in your view, that's intrinsic fraud.
No, sir. In case the other party introduces, like for example, a falsified document or a fake document, sir.
In short, in other words, can you so it can be easily distinguished? Oh, you describe it. Do you describe the intrinsic fraud?
Intrinsic fraud is not.
It's not limited to the documents, right? What is the general concept of intrinsic fraud?
The other party was prevented to.
That's extrinsic, di ba?
Yes.
Sabi mo kanina, that's extrinsic. Or what is intrinsic?
Intrinsic, sir, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The other party was prevented to properly defend this case, sir, due to the acts committed during trial.
That is extrinsic. I'm asking, pati ko na, I'm asking intrinsic.
Intrinsic.
You forgot already. It is the fraud which is the very issue in the case. Oh, okay. Now you remember your rule 47, right? Now, you are applying also in the Court of Tax Appeals, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh. From a decision of a court, CTA division, what is the remedy?
CCA.
When you want to question the decision of a CTA division,
aside from filing a motion for reconsideration, sir, you can have it heard by an en banc, sir.
what is the mode? Appeal or petition for review?
Petition for review, sir.
Petition for review.
Yeah.
There is no appeal.
Yes, sir. Petition for review.
No appeal.
The decision, sir, en banc can be appealed.
No, I'm asking CTA division.
CTA. You can have it appeal or appeal it at the en banc, sir. CTA
you
en
can
banc.
appeal it. O ba sabi mo kanina, petition for review?
Sorry, sir.
You are confused?
But the decision of en banc, sir, can be reviewed.
Yes, it is. It is an appeal. The mode is petition for review.
It can be reviewed by the en banc, court en banc, sir.
Court en banc. Suppose the decision is already final and executory. You know, you can file an annulment for judgment under Rule 47, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and the decision of the RTC is already final and executory, correct?
Yes, sir.
Suppose the uh, the decision of the CTA division has become final and executory. Under the internal rules of the Court of Appeals, the rules of court can be suppletorily applied to the Court of Tax Appeals. Now, the decision is already final and executory. Can the losing party file an annulment of judgment before the Court of Tax Appeals, invoking lack of jurisdiction or extrinsic fraud under Rule 47, using it or applying it suppletorily before the Court of Tax Appeals and Bank?
From the division, sir, to NBank?
Yes, that's already.
You can only-
Basta ito, decision is already final. Kasi under Rule 47, final decisions of the regional trial courts can be assailed, can be annulled. Ngayon, on the ground of lack of jurisdiction and extrinsic fraud, right? Oh,
No, sir, because you
Oh,
can
no.
only decision of the division to the NBank. Okay, suppletory.
Mm. Suppose there is extrinsic fraud. Can you not?
In the division, sir, in the division. Decision
Yes.
of division. No, sir. You have to.
You cannot, even if there is extrinsic fraud.
If the rules, if it can be suppletorily applied, sir, yes, you can. But decision of a CTA and bank should be appeal to the Supreme Court, sir.
Invoking extrinsic fraud.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you sure of that?
No, because it's all question of facts. It's a question of facts.
Mm.
The internal rules of, I'm not sure, sir, if it's stated in the internal rules of
Anyway, it has
CTA.
been decided by the Supreme Court in CIR versus Elihan that a party cannot resort to a petition for annulment of judgment from a decision of the CTA division
to NBank.
Yes. Can you guess what was the reason given by the Supreme Court?
It's the same court, sir.
No, it's not the same court. That was not the reason. The reason was that the Court of Appeals was empowered. It has original jurisdiction over annulment of judgment. And the CTA has no such power. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
In your SAL-N, you have listed properties, but you forgot to indicate the amounts or the values. Oh, why is that? Can you explain why did you not indicate? How did you reach the network when there is no indication of values?
There are, sir. For the
of
year
parking
2019,
parking space Magnolia Residence, acquired in 2013, did not indicate assessed value, current for market value.
acquisition, sir, acquisition.
Oh,
Acquisition cost.
yes, not the market assessed value, current fair market value. You did not.
No, sir.
Okay,
I still
no.
have to
Okay, no
still have
problem.
to get the tax declaration. Sorry.
Okay, oh, no problem. Oh. Now, who has jurisdiction over an action for a conveyance of property sold upon forfeiture because of forfeiture of non-payment of a tax assessment? You know, this is an actual case in Quezon City.
Who has jurisdiction, sir?
A property was sold
Public auction.
public auction, and it was sold at public auction. The taxpayer filed, the amount is within the jurisdiction of the RTC, but what he filed was an action for reconveyance of the property, which was sold after forfeiture. The Solgen opposed the petition by filing a motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. Was the OSG correct? It was a reconveyance of a property sold.
It's
Is the
under the
RTC
jurisdiction.
correct?
It is under the jurisdiction of RTC, sir. Because
So
it's
you
not
will-
capable. It's not capable of pecuniary estimation.
I see. So you will deny the motion to dismiss of the Solgen. Okay. You review Alcantara versus Republic. In the case, it was a case written by Chief Justice Bersamin on March 18, 2017. Okay?
Yes, sir. Okay.
We have no more time. We'll ask for an extension, you want?
Yes, sir. No problem, sir.
No problem. Ako naman, there is another interview.
Because I also learned from our conversation, sir.
So what I can say is, no mas.
I also learned from our conversation, so it's okay.
Yes. Okay, we have no more time. Very sorry I cannot accommodate you.
It's
No
okay,
mas.
sir.
Sige. That will be all. Thank
Okay,
you
thank you,
very much.
sir.
Your
And-
excuse.
Yeah, thank you, sir, and keep safe.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, Justice Mendoza. That winds up the public interview of Honorable Ana Marie T. Mas. Thank you and good luck, Judge Mas.
Okay, thank you.
We now
Ilang
move
ko-
on. We now move on to the next candidate, Honorable P.B. Mir, Regional Trial Court Judge, Branch 275, Las Piñas City.
Ilan?
The Honorable Judge Franklin J. de Monteverde will have the first crack at interviewing you. Judge, good afternoon po.
Good afternoon, Attorney Ann. Ako na?
Yes po.
Okay. Good afternoon, Judge Mir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Your
Okay.
Honor, may I just fix Judge Mir's audio po? May feedback lang po.
The same has already,
Is that okay with
the
you?
same will be silenced.
Judge, may I request Judge Mir to lower down the volume of your secondary device to avoid
Lower
feedback?
the secondary device.
Yes.
Lower.
Zero lang po natin yung volume of your secondary device.
It has been zeroed and
Thank you. Judge, okay na po. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon again, Judge Mir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Okay. How's everything?
I'm fine, Your Honor.
You know, I was going over your letter of intent, and I was quite intrigued by a certain sentence, one line, which wherein you said that I am well behaved.
Yes, Your Honor.
How is this?
It
Can
means
you
so
kindly
much.
explain why you wrote this?
In one sentence paragraph, Your Honor, I wrote in my
Yes.
letter intent that well behaved, considering that I really adhered to the principle of honesty in the judiciary, Your Honor. I have this pleasant disposition in life. I am of modest resources, but I am of bountiful energy. I do not complicate my life. I really am a public servant.
Okay, you also stated that when you were the Metropolitan Trial Judge, you were tasked by the Supreme Court's Task Force Katarungan ang Kalayaan.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is this all about?
It is now this Task Force Katarungan, Your Honor, wherein the actions of the judges were monitored by this task force in a manner that during that time, the Metropolitan Trial Courts were afforded only 60 days to dispose the cases, while 1 year for the regional trial judges. But in doing so, there was this guarantee that there was no encroachment on the discretion of the judges in disposing the cases.
When was this, Judge?
It was 5 years ago, Your Honor, when I was Metropolitan Trial Court Judge of Manila.
Okay. Now you are an applicant for the post at the Court of Appeals, Court of Tax Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. But there is an opposition here from a certain Professor Cristina Lola Ocampo Ferrer.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is this all about?
After filing a petition for relief from judgment, and the same was decided, and you may very well then read, Your Honor, as regards what transpired during the proceedings. She was even very grateful to the court, according to her, and she wouldn't want it to make it off record that really she delights in the actions of the court, but she was very much disappointed in the action of her lawyer then. I was very much surprised then in having this opposition last week. But I already submitted my comment to the opposition, Your Honor, and I substantiated then what I did, and I just did what was right.
So you had already filed your
Yes, Your
comment.
Honor.
Okay.
I attached all the pleadings filed.
Okay. Now in your application, you also mentioned certain politicians as your references.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why? Are they close to you? Do they know you professionally?
Your Honor, we sought their intervention in reflecting them as my character references, Your Honor. Before I then reflected them as my character references, one of them I even sought personally, and for the others, there were representations by their confidantes that I could very well then made them as references, Your Honor.
So you listed them without their knowledge, also only from their confident. What do you call them?
Confidante.
Confidantes. Okay.
Your Honor, for one, we had this encounter during the time when I was Metropolitan Trial Court Judge. And so I followed it up with the confidante. And you must know, of course, Your Honor, their stature in the country. And so I did not insist. And another thing, it was quarantine period, Your Honor. But we relied very much on their confidantes
specifically for that too, Your Honor. But
Okay.
for one politician, I sought personally his acquiescence.
Okay. Can this confidant assure you your place in the short list? Or
No, Your Honor, I must know that I must go under, I must undergo the rigorous panel interview by these legal luminaries, including you, Your Honor, in order for me to be shortlisted. Not that, of course, I must maintain my status until such time, Your Honor, and every time.
assuming that you will be appointed and in the future, some of them or one of them will have a case before you, before your division, what would be your reaction to that? Will you
If
succumb to them because they had in a way helped you?
if I were appointed, Your Honor, definitely I must be very much certain that with their dignity and reputation, they would never be doing that at all. And so there would not be any circumstance that I would be succumbing, because never would they be doing that.
Okay. Now, is your husband a foreigner, judge?
And no, Your
Ano?
Honor.
He's a full-blooded Filipino.
Yes, Your Honor.
And is he also in the government service?
And no, Your Honor.
How many children do you have?
I have one child, Your Honor.
Only one child. Okay. Now let's go to your medical, or rather, before that. You are presently the presiding judge of the RTC in Las Piñas,
Yes,
branch
Your Honor.
275. Okay. And for how long have you been there?
I've been there for 5 years already, Your Honor.
So 5 years, and what is your present caseload?
I have only 114 as of today.
As of today. Okay. Now, prior to your appointment as the RTC presiding judge in Las Piñas, kindly give us an insight into your professional background.
Before my promotion as Regional Trial Court Judge of Las Piñas City, Your Honor, I worked right at the time that I was sworn as lawyer before the Supreme Court. I had the opportunity of working for those legal luminaries of the highest court of the land for a decade. And I transferred to the Court of Appeals for 2 years before I was appointed as Metropolitan Trial Court Judge of Manila, as acting presiding judge of another branch of Manila, another branch of Pasay City, Your Honor. I was also assisting judge of Parañaque City, and I worked for 3 years before the Regional Trial Court of Makati City, branch 142. At the time, I held, Your Honor, 4 courts, branches 141 and 142, considering the promotion of Justice Manialak before the Sandigan Bayan. And I worked with 2 branches of the Regional Trial Court of Las Piñas City, branches 255 and 275, considering, of course, the promotion of Justice Heluz of Court of Appeals.
Okay. Okay. Now, all your professional life, I can see that you were with the court. You have been with the court.
Yes, Your Honor, except for my first job at the Ateneo de Manila University.
You worked there?
Yes, Your Honor, for 6 months after the bar examinations.
That was in 1998.
1997, Your Honor.
97, okay. But you were admitted to the practice of law, what? In
In
1998?
1997.
97?
Right after graduation, Your Honor.
Uh-huh. Okay, so there's an error here. It says that's 1998. So you were, immediately after you passed the bar, you were the Supreme Court Attorney 4?
Court Attorney 4, Court Attorney 5, Court Attorney 6, Your Honor. I was
Yeah.
promoted. I started as Court Attorney 4 and then I was promoted Court Attorney 5 and then Court Attorney 6.
At the time you were the Court Attorney 4, you were already a lawyer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah. How about your educational background? Let's start from your elementary education.
I started as an achiever early on in life, Your Honor. I was a valedictorian in our humble elementary school. I graduated with distinction. When I was in high school, I was a consistent Dean's Lister, university scholar, state scholar when I was in college. And I graduated from San Beda University, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. So any awards earned during your education, during your academic stint? Any
Academic.
awards? Yeah. You were a valedictorian or
I was a valedictorian in my
yeah,
elementary, Your Honor.
elementary. How about high
With
school?
distinction in high school, consistent Dean's Lister in college, and also a university and state scholar of the Department of Commissioner on Higher Education during that time.
Any master's degree, Judge?
I have these 9 units in Ateneo de Manila University, Your Honor. It was a leadership training in the University of Ateneo de Manila University, and it was credited for 9 units. But I did not take up a formal master's degree for the meantime, Your Honor.
Professionally, what achievements, if any, do you have?
Your Honor, humbly, I am the 2014 Judicial Excellence Awardee, and I was also the Outstanding Judge of Manila.
Mm-hmm. That was in what year?
5 years ago, Your Honor.
Okay. So let's go to your medical records. It says here that urinalysis is high. Your CBC, composed of the triglycerides, VLD, L, cholesterol, uric acid, high also. Are you physically fit to perform your job?
Yes, Your
Judge?
Honor. I do not take any maintenance medicine. The doctor of the government did not prescribe any, Your Honor.
But what assurance do we have that you are physically fit, considering the findings that you have here in your medical record?
The physician, in his independence and discretion, Your Honor, did not even prescribe any maintenance medicine for those instances, Your Honor.
So you are not experiencing any high blood sugar, but your uric acid is high.
None, Your Honor.
That's what you say, but your medical record says otherwise. Your triglycerides also is very high.
I would be having this opinion from the doctor, Your Honor. Thank you very much for the
Yes,
advice.
immediately after, after
But,
our
Your
interview.
Honor, the government physician did not prescribe when I elicited and showed to him all my medical records. But thank you for the concern, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Because we have experienced in the past that there were candidates who says that they are with a clean bill of health, they are medically fit, only to find out later that they were undergoing some physical pain.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, you wrote that you devised a master list database of all cases in your court. Tell us about this.
even before then, the Supreme Court enjoining all judges to maintain the digital list of the cases. I was already doing that, Your Honor, aside from the hard copies in index cards, and of course, close monitoring of all the cases. In that manner, even though the case was already decided for purposes of the motion for reconsideration and even other interlocutory orders, I could very well monitor the cases, Your Honor.
Mhm. Now, there was this donation drive, which you also wrote, that you spearheaded in Manila and Las Piñas Metropolitan Trial Court. What is this all about?
For the Metropolitan Trial Court of Manila, Your Honor, during that time, I solicited the acquiescence of the executive judge in order to spearhead that project. I solicited and I really pleaded to all the judges of the Metropolitan Trial Court of Manila to give anything then so that we may derive funds, and out of those funds, we have this relief operations or projects at the Manila City Jail. We were able then to witness a number of violence, the bonds among the relatives, and we were really very much surprised. We painstakingly, Your Honor, went to all supermarkets in order just to secure those most reasonable prices so that we would be having plenty to share. And of course, I just represented the Metropolitan Trial Court of Manila. It is a joint and cooperative project of the Metropolitan Trial Court of Manila, Your Honor. For Las Piñas, I was designated then by all the judges as the head in one of the joint Christmas party of the Metropolitan Trial Courts and the Regional Trial Courts. Out of having the Christmas party celebrated in just the Las Piñas City Hall grounds, instead in a luxurious hotel, we were able then to solicit money, and the excesses were given to every representative of every barangay in Las Piñas City, Your Honor.
How long have you been in the judiciary, Judge?
22 years, Your Honor.
Judiciary, as
And
a
yes,
judge?
Your Honor. As a
Oh, okay.
judge, nearly 11 years, Your Honor.
And
12 years.
for 12 years, you have been working solely, deciding on your case solely, because our judicial system is that. Now, should you be appointed, will you have any problems dealing with your co-justices?
Your Honor, I am a team player. I could very well then work with the division and even with the NBank. I can commit my time in reading all the decisions of the division as well as the NBank, have my concurrence or even my dissenting opinion, and I could very well work on the cases assigned to me, Your Honor.
Now, do you believe that the composition of our magistrates, of the magistrates in our courts, adequately and fairly reflect society at large? Why or why not?
The composition of our
Magistrates in the
courts,
courts.
magistrates in the courts, Your Honor, admittedly would not be truly reflective of at least the size of every part of the country. But of course, there is this fair grounds in which anyone can apply, and it would be an act of so much discretion and expertise of the Judicial and Bar Council, and as to the discretion of the President to choose whom he or they would be thinking as the most qualified. In that manner, I do not see any unfairness in it, but of course, the act of according so much of the qualifications of every applicant, Your Honor.
Okay, briefly, convince me to include you in my short list.
Your Honor, I reiterate I am well behaved. And
Apart from that, syempre.
I started on as an achiever, not only now, but since I was in elementary, I maintain my dignity, my honesty, my independence as a public servant, Your Honor.
Is that all? Would that convince me to include you in my short list? Would that be enough?
I very well look into your records, Your Honor, and how much I would want that. I really
what will you be looking for in my records?
I
Where I was
discovered,
born?
and it was disclosed, Your Honor, that you are the president of the MWSS, an established institution. Another thing, no one can, or not all, can be the president of the Philippine Judges Association. For one, you hail from the province. Ordinarily, the presidents came from the National Capital Judicial Region. The trust that you gain from all the judges all over the country would be in itself tremendous achievement. So I tried then to follow on to your example, and you must not have reached this far. Another thing, can you imagine being one of the members of this reputable council? That's one biggest thing, Your Honor. So I really look at
I think I'll include you in my short list for blowing my horn.
not just blowing your horn, but of course, those are really your achievements.
Sige na, Judge Mir. Thank you for the accolade.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
That was my last question.
Thank you.
That was my last question. Okay. Thank you for the time and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, sige.
Thank
Attorney
you very
Ann?
much, Your Honor, Judge de Monteverde.
Mhm.
It is now the turn of Honorable Justice Noel Jimenez Tiham to interview Judge Mir.
Thank you, Attorney Capacite.
Thank you, Attorney Ann.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Judge. You have 50% chance to get the vote of Judge de Monteverde after those praises you made. What preparations did you make? Because you applied for the CTA, the Court of Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan. So what preparations did you make? Did you make a lot of researches?
Yes, Your Honor. From the time that I learned that my requirements were complete, I spent only 4 hours sleeping just to prepare for this panel interview of the legal luminaries.
So how many days did you prepare for this interview?
Since July, Your Honor.
Wow, since July. All right. Since you know a lot of things about the CTA, the Court of Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan, I will ask you about something else. Are you familiar with the Rolio system in the Court of Appeals? They have coded or colored numbers for cases. If you can remember your review of the internal rules of the Court of Appeals, what are the priorities in the adjudication of cases in the Court of Appeals?
The priorities in the adjudication of cases before the Court of Appeals, Your Honor, are first for civil cases in which there were prayers for temporary restraining orders, writs of preliminary injunction, for those civil cases, which were the oldest as to the time of the completion. For the criminal cases, those involving detention prisoners. And of course, those which were considered oldest based on the time of the submission. The third would be the other cases, Your Honor. But I was really very much surprised that the civil cases enjoy priority compared to the criminal cases, Your Honor.
You are an outstanding judge. You have received many awards and accolades.
Humbly, Your Honor.
You are an overachiever. But I'm just curious why you voluntarily inhibited in a lot of cases. As a general proposition, what was your main reason for inhibiting in this number of cases?
Specifically, Your Honor, when I was Regional Trial Court acting presiding judge of Makati, the lawyers there were into filing petitions for certiorari on the interlocutory orders of the Regional Trial Court of the court. Once then, the lawyers interposed petitions for certiorari. I readily and voluntarily inhibited, Your Honor.
Were you influenced by the fact that it might jeopardize your performance and your entitlement to awards such as judicial excellence recognized by the Supreme Court?
No, Your Honor, but really, I impose upon myself to readily inhibit so that the parties and even their counsels would not be entertaining any doubt or attribute any partiality, against me, Your Honor. But of course, the ruling now of the Chief Justice through the Office of the Court Administrator of reporting those cases in which a judge inhibits, then in a way, Your Honor, precludes me from having those inhibitions, Your Honor. As of the time of the issuance of such administrative circular, I inhibit in any case, Your Honor.
In your documentary requirements submitted, more specifically the SAL-N, there are dramatic increases and decreases in liabilities which are not very clear to the members of the council. Probably you can just go over it. The JBC staff will coordinate with you. I advise that you email an explanation letter so that these matters are clarified to the members of the council.
As to my liabilities, Your Honor,
Yes.
not as to my assets.
Also, yes, as to your assets as well.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right. Do you maintain a Facebook account, Judge?
No, Your Honor.
Do you think it is improper for members of the judiciary to maintain a Facebook account?
It is not improper, Your Honor. It is just my self-imposition. The matter of conveying and knowing to the whole world then your valid activities, your achievements is way an encouragement to all members of the judiciary, Your Honor. It was just that since Facebook was issued or was introduced, I did not have one. But I must also admit, Your Honor, that at times I look at the Facebook of my son.
Is it legally permissible for Facebook to fact check postings made by people who subscribe to it and to remove it on the basis of what they claim to be the posting being against what they consider as community standard? Is that not a form of censorship?
It is legally impermissible as what happened in the account of the Philippine National Police, I think, Your Honor. But from the moment and ordinarily that institution acquiesced to the terms and conditions of this platform, it indirectly submitted to those terms and conditions, Your Honor. Just the same, you have a choice whether to adhere to it or to be a member of that. But it is also a form of censorship, Your Honor. According to our Constitution, there is a right of the people to be secure in their persons, papers, effects, and houses.
Generally, media can be the victim of censorship by government. Can it be the other way around? Can media be responsible or be liable for censorship as well?
It can be the other way around, Your Honor. The media can then have this unscrupulous censorship against the government. The government may be doing things in accordance with the Constitution and other statutes, but with the overbreadth of those installations of media, they can very well do that even against the government. But just the same, the government, Your Honor, can always exercise its police power then.
What do you understand by the phrase omission bias committed by media?
I will have an intelligent guess.
If there is something good being done by government and media chooses not to broadcast it to the public, is that a form of censorship?
Yes, Your Honor, it must not be subjective and it must not be selective. Everything which happens must be reported by the media. Not only those which will serve their interest must be disclosed to the public. Whether it would be good or not, the same must be disclosed as their form of responsibility.
President Trump, several weeks ago after the elections, called for a press conference to denounce what he claims to be electoral fraud during the last presidential elections in the United States. At the middle of the press conference, media suddenly stopped broadcasting his speech, claiming that he was telling a lie and that his claim of electoral fraud was not substantiated by evidence. Was it constitutionally correct for media to stop covering the President of the United States?
The media, for that instance, Your Honor, had no prerogative of stopping the broadcast of that speech by now even President Donald Trump, Your Honor. It was not incumbent upon the media to dictate what to include and not to include. So long as the same is happening whether it did not agree with what were the claims of President Donald Trump, it is obliged to publish the same, Your Honor.
What do you understand, Judge, by the phrase red tagging? What do you understand by that?
Red tagging, Your Honor, is so much confined with the Anti-Terrorist Act, the
Tagging is identifying certain persons or certain groups to be affiliated, supportive, or being a member of the Communist Party of the Philippines.
yes, Your Honor, but the
Is
communist,
it a crime if you red tag a person or a group of persons to be affiliated to the CPP-NPA? Is it a crime?
for one thing, Your Honor, being red tag or being attributed as a subversive, as one having affiliation with the CPP-NPA, it's already a repealed law, Your Honor. We have now the Anti-Terrorist Act, which as of this date has been and remains to be a constitutional law. Even the National Security Act has been amended by the provisions of the Anti-Terrorist Act.
My last two questions. What do you understand by academic freedom?
Academic freedom, Your Honor, is the being free from the dictates of the government, specifically on matters of admission, on the introduction of methods on how to teach the students. That is academic freedom, Your Honor.
It
Just
has
like, for instance, in the case of
been
PhilSat,
reported that the Student Council of the University of the Philippines declared an academic break to protest against government response to the pandemic and to the floods. And the academic break will be until the president is ousted. Is that a valid expression of academic freedom?
it is beyond of academic freedom, Your Honor. Matters of overthrowing and even, Your Honor, for the Anti-Terrorist Act with the acts like proposal, training, and citing of overthrowing the government.
Is it criminal? Is a criminal act committed if somebody expresses dissatisfaction with government and proposes that the government be changed? Is that a valid exercise of the freedom of expression?
There could be modes or platforms in which this freedom can be exercised, but matters of illegal unions, associations, membership in organizations would not justify that as constitutional, Your Honor.
What's the difference, Judge, between mens rea and actus reus?
I was not able to review that, Your Honor.
Criminal law.
Mens rea,
Criminal act is actus reus. What is mens rea? That's the criminal.
for special
criminal
laws,
intent. That's the criminal intent.
special laws, Your Honor, the guilt would not be, the intent would not be indicative of the guilt.
All right, my last
So long
question.
as the same has been committed, just like in BP 22, Your Honor.
My last question is this. May Philippine courts exercise jurisdiction over an offense constituting psychological violence under the VAUC law committed through marital infidelity when the alleged illicit relationship took place outside of the Philippines.
Criminal laws are territorial in application, Your Honor. But of course, psychological, physical, emotional, sexual, and even economic abuse are then defined under the VAUC, Your Honor, for infidelity committed outside the jurisdiction of
Outside of the Philippines. So
the Philippines.
is it cognizable by Philippine courts? The
No, Your
prosecution
Honor.
for psychological violence under the VAUC law for infidelity committed outside of the Philippines. Is that cognizable by Philippine courts?
No, Your Honor.
Why not? Territorial, even.
Yes, Your Honor. Although, of course, it must be in the encompassing application of the VAUC, but considering that criminal statutes are territorial in nature.
So what is punished by the law? Is it the marital infidelity or the psychological violence?
The psychological violence.
Infidelity was committed outside of the Philippines, but can it cause psychological violence to the spouse who is in the Philippines?
I will be changing my answer, Your Honor, through your persuasion that notwithstanding that the marital infidelity was committed outside the jurisdiction of the Philippines, but considering that it affected a partner, then it would qualify as psychological violence.
Crime was committed where? Where was the crime committed?
Outside the jurisdiction of the Philippines, Your Honor.
I thought we agreed that the crime committed is psychological violence, not marital infidelity. Marital infidelity is committed outside, but the psychological violence was committed here because it was inflicted upon the spouse who is in the Philippines, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Judge, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor, Justice Satiham. The next to interview Judge Mir is Honorable Judge Toribio E. Ilaw Jr. Your Honor,
Thank
please.
you very much.
Yes, thank you, Attorney Yan.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Yes, good afternoon. Yes, Judge Mir, I still remember there was an officer of the PLDT then during the time of Tony Boy Kuwangko. Family name is Mir, but he is American. Any relation to your husband?
He is a relative by affinity, Your Honor. He is a relative of my husband.
I see. And you have also such intonation, ala A.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why?
I hail from Batangas, Your Honor.
Nabi na nga ga eh, tinamaan ng magaling. Any rate, yes, Judge Mir, that I don't know whether this already been asked with respect to an opposition filed against you by one Cristina Lola Ocampo Ferrer.
Yes, Your Honor, it was already asked, but I justified and I substantiated already my comment. I already filed that before the Judicial and Bar Council, specifically the Office of the Executive Officer.
Is there more of about your dealings with her or the root cause of this opposition?
Your Honor, I decided a petition for relief from judgment during the last day when she appeared before the court. She was even delighted by the actions of the branch. And according to her, she would want it to make it of record that she really was very much appreciative of the efforts of the branch. She had this disappointment as regards the performance of her lawyer. He only appeared once, and even pleadings were filed by the Lola herself, Your Honor.
All right, I counted the administrative cases filed against you. Numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this a reflection of your work ethics? For a gross ignorance of the law, grave abuse of discretion, abuse of authority, gross ignorance of the law, again, grave abuse of authority.
Your Honor, if you may then peruse the certification from the legal office, all those cases, if not being dismissed outright, I was asked to file the comment. But none of them ripened into administrative cases, Your Honor. They remain as informal preliminary investigation, OCA IPI, Your Honor.
As you are applying for all appellate courts with vacancies,
Yes, Your Honor.
the Court of Appeals, the Court of Tax Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan. What among your qualifications and experiences should this council take into consideration in evaluating your application?
I reiterate, Your Honor, I was an achiever early on in life, even from my elementary days up to my college, Your Honor. And as noticed by one of the panelists, by one of the legal luminaries of the Judicial Bar Council, I provided in my intent to apply that one sentence paragraph that really I am well behaved, Your Honor. I am adhering continuously to dignity, honesty, and independence, Your Honor. And for that thing, I could very well vouch as to my compassion and adherence to the rules of the judiciary, Your Honor.
And if you were to look at your qualifications and experiences, however, which court do you think you should contribute best?
To the Court of Appeals, Your Honor.
So that's your preference, Court of Appeals.
Regardless of my preference, Your Honor, if you will not be dictating my shortlist, I could not enjoy that preference.
So maybe in particular, which really do you prefer from among the collegiate courts?
Considering, Your Honor, my experiences from the highest court of the land for a decade at the Supreme Court as law clerk, Court Attorney 4, Court Attorney 5, Court Attorney 6, and thereafter as being Court Attorney 4 and 5 of the Court of Appeals, and my experiences as a first level court and second level court, the Court of Appeals, I think, Your Honor, would best thresh out my knowledge, Your Honor.
So what reforms will you undertake if and when you're appointed as an Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals to make a substantial contribution not only to the benefit of the bench, the bar, but to the private sector?
Having read, Your Honor, the internal rules of the Court of Appeals, I saw and I observed, Your Honor, that it was perfectly then worded and shall be very effectively implemented. Not necessarily that there could be other reforms that I can introduce in the Court of Appeals, but I can always offer my hard work, Your Honor. I will be dealing with those decisions of the members of the division as well as the NBank, and I will very well write also the cases, the decisions of the cases assigned to me, Your Honor. I see the internal rules of the Court of Appeals as really very effective. There are no other so much of improvements or reforms that can be introduced so long as every magistrate will be adhering to giving all and rendering judgment. The Court of Appeals will remain as an institution of reputation, Your Honor.
All right. You listed under your references former President JMA, Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, and Senator Coco Pimentel. How do they have personal knowledge of your competence, independence, integrity, and probity?
Your Honor, as I had already disclosed to another member of the Judicial and Bar Council, when I was a Metropolitan Trial Court judge, I had this opportunity of conveying them through Ma'am Erlinda De Leon and Ma'am Erlinda De Leon then, and I sought the intervention of her confidante, Your Honor.
What's the name of that personality connected with the PNB?
With
the husband,
Honor,
Mrs. De Leon?
Ma'am Erlinda De Leon, Your Honor, the wife of Assistant Court Administrator Carlos De Leon. And we sought,
Please continue.
Your Honor, the acquiescence of their confidante before including them, Your Honor, as character references. I relied, Your Honor, and I pleaded to them that they vouched then for my independence. And during that quarantine period, Your Honor, I relied on the representations of their confidante, Your Honor.
Should you be appointed and they later on seek help from you regarding a pending case in the appellate court, how are you going to assert your independence? Or how would you handle the court?
To reiterate, Your Honor, with their dignity, with their reputation, not that they would be even attempting or doing that. They were reputable personalities, Your Honor, and never would they be even try to solicit, and that will be having no opportunity in succumbing to their influence. They would not be doing that, Your Honor.
But in so many admonitions, you must heal to the lessons imparted, because canon 1 of the new Code of Judicial Conduct states that judges shall not only be free from inappropriate connections with and influenced by the executive and legislative branches of the government, but must also appear to be free therefrom to a reasonable observer. And how would you ensure compliance with this requirement when the position calls for connections with officials of other branches of the government? Please explain.
For the Filipinos, the sense of gratitude is always present, but Your Honor, so long as I am appointed, I can very well maintain my independence and impartiality, Your Honor. I would be deciding cases before me based on the applicable laws and appreciation of the facts presented by both parties, Your Honor.
By the way, what do you wish you had done differently in your life?
I wish that I could have many children, Your Honor.
No, you only have one child.
One
Only
child,
one
Your
child.
Honor.
Don't you think that's already a blessing?
I am very much grateful and I am very much blessed, Your Honor. But having only one child is a choice, Your Honor. Considering, of course, the many challenges of being in the judiciary.
Do you believe that's really a big deal to be in the judiciary?
Yes, Your Honor. According to one of the legal luminaries of the Judicial Bar Council, while one believes that the work is only from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock to 4:30 in the afternoon, not with respect to the judiciary. A judge is expected to decide cases within the reglementary periods. And so if the work necessitates bringing work at home, work from home, then the same must be done, Your Honor.
How do you handle a case being in a bad mood or difficult situation?
Your Honor, I impose upon myself of a pleasant disposition every time so that I would be confronting cases in my best mood, Your Honor, in a manner that I can exercise my impartiality and I can only appreciate the facts and apply the law based on those facts presented by the parties, Your Honor.
And what do you have in common with your family?
With my family, Your Honor,
Your family? I still remember
I
beauty contest.
share with them the virtues of humility and gratitude, Your Honor, and we all believe in hard work.
All right, my last question, Judge. Have you ever wondered why a tennis ball is fuzzy? FUZY.
It would maintain, Your Honor, the balance. If it is not fuzzy, then it would not keep it balanced, Your Honor. The same could not be struck, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. That was my last question. Then
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Judge Mir from Bawan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, Judge Ilaw. The last to interview Judge Mir is our Executive Committee Chairperson, Honorable Justice Jose Catral Mendoza. Justice Mendoza, please.
Start my video. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Justice.
Good afternoon, Judge. So, how are you? Not yet tired?
I'm fine,
Not
Your
yet.
Honor.
We have been here since morning, so you started only. You're still strong.
You must be the more tired
Ah,
or even most tired considering your devotion from 8 o'clock and you even started weeks ago.
weeks ago. I was just intrigued by your letter. No? Daybreak of the dawn. What do you mean by daybreak of the dawn? Because dawn is daybreak for me. Can you educate us?
Your Honor, specifically when
When
I
the sun
was
rises?
when I was acting presiding judge of Regional Trial Court of Makati City, I was in the court at 4 o'clock early dawn.
I see early dawn, and there is late dawn, and there is daybreak of the dawn. This is what you wrote here. Daybreak of the dawn. That will be sunrise, near sunrise.
4 o'clock early dawn, Your Honor.
I see. Oh. And I'm also intrigued. Two of my colleagues mentioned this. Uh, mentioned this because it is just one paragraph, and I think I'm also intrigued. But I have a different question. You wrote, "I am well behaved."
Yes, Your
Correct?
Honor.
Okay. I heard your what you earlier said. I am well behaved. If you were well behaved, why do you think that administrative cases were filed against you? Numerous.
Your Honor, I
If you
had
are well
five.
behaved. Yes.
I had five, but none of them, Your Honor,
Yes.
ripened into an administrative case.
Correct.
They were all
Correct.
OCA informal preliminary investigation.
Yes, I know. I heard that.
Your
I'm just
Honor,
intrigued. You are well behaved, but still cases were filed against you. Are you not intrigued yourself?
Your Honor, I had no hand in
Correct.
telling them not to file administrative cases
Of course.
against me, but Your Honor, even the Supreme Court then sustained my acts in saying that I did not commit those acts.
Yes. I read the cases. Oh, and there was one case where you were charged with ignorance of the law. What was the law which you reportedly or allegedly ignored?
Admittedly, Your Honor, I did not again read those OCA IPIs, just being confronted with them. And after the Supreme Court had decided them, I did not want anymore to go back to those cases, Your Honor.
No,
So,
the complaint was not attached to the resolution dismissing them. No, they were not attached.
I the clearance, Your Honor, came from the legal office of the
Yes,
Office of the Court
yes,
Administrator.
I know how that's done. The Supreme Court did not ask you to comment.
There were
But did
instances,
you receive a copy of the complaint
yes,
from the
Your Honor.
complainant? Or what was the law which you allegedly ignored?
I had five, Your Honor.
No,
The last,
only one. There's only one which charged you with ignorance of the law. There
I
was
could no
only
longer
one.
remember, Your
You
Honor,
can no
what
longer
law did I
remember.
apply for that.
Okay lang, okay lang. You can no longer remember. But you are applying for the Court of Appeals and also uh, Court of Tax Appeals
Yes, Your Honor.
and Sandigan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Oh. You stayed in the Court of Appeals for how long?
For 2 years, Your
With
Honor,
under Justice?
under three justices,
Yes. Who were they?
Justices Regino, Ligia Salvador,
Ligia Salvador.
and Del Rosario, Your Honor.
Ah, Del Rosario. Okay. Uh, you have been preparing for this interview since July.
Yes, Your Honor, considering these legal luminaries.
Oh, you. Anyway, you have been in the Court of Appeals for 2 years, and in the Supreme Court, how many years?
For more than a decade, Your
For
Honor.
more than a decade. Oh, which do you find fulfilling? Your stint in the Supreme Court or your stint in the Court of Appeals?
Both, Your Honor.
Both.
They gave me lessons then.
Yes.
Actually, I was really very grateful to the Court of Appeals. During that time, I was pregnant, and considering that court attorneys, law clerks' terms were coterminous with the justice, just to ensure my security of tenure, I decided to transfer to the Court of Appeals. I celebrated my wedding, and even I was able to give birth in the Court of Appeals, and thereafter I returned to the Supreme Court, Your Honor.
I see. Oh. In your PDA, it says here in the category vocational, Harvard University. Why did you place that under vocational?
It was
What-
just a 22 day, I think, Your Honor, seminar convention. So it was just a vocational course, but just the same, Your
They
Honor, it
consider
was
it
at
vo-
Harvard
They
University.
consider it vocational or you consider it vocational?
There were no other spaces, Your Honor.
Spaces, just because of
So I
There were
categorize it I
under
categorize it
vocational
under that, Your Honor. It is a 22-day course, Your
on
Honor.
multidisciplinary studies.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, so in the Court of Appeals, this is just a giveaway question. No. In what remedy or action does the Court of Appeals have original jurisdiction? Not concurrent.
It has exclusive original jurisdiction based on Fabian versus Desierto on administrative disciplinary cases, Your Honor.
That is appellate. That
Not
is not
concurrent.
original. That is not.
Annulment of judgment, Your Honor.
Yes, you got it. Oo. Relax lang ha, relax. I was
How
not
would you be
asking.
feeling relaxed, Your Honor, if you are confronted with these legal luminaries?
No, you are a luminary yourself. It is the Rule 47, annulment of judgment, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
What are the grounds? You can easily answer that.
What are the grounds, Your Honor, for?
Yes, for annulment of judgment. What do you annul? What is the subject of an annulment of judgment in the Court of Appeals? You can easily answer that.
Annulment of judgments of final and executory judgments, Your Honor.
Of the MTC, the RTC, or what? Agencies? What?
The decisions of the regional trial court, Your Honor.
In the exercise of its appellate jurisdiction or original jurisdiction?
Original jurisdiction, Your Honor.
Original jurisdiction. Because if it is appellate, you the action file or the remedy is a petition for review under Rule 42, correct? Or
Yes, Your Honor.
do you agree with me?
Yes, Your Honor. On the exercise of its appellate jurisdiction, on the exercise of the regional trial court of exercise of appellate jurisdiction of the regional trial court, that will be a petition for review, Your Honor.
The reception of evidence in the Court of Appeals is, in all cases, discretionary. Correct? When
Yes,
you
Your
are there,
Honor.
or if the court wants to conduct a hearing, may do so even on appealed cases, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
What are the three recognized general categories in the internal rules where the court may receive evidence?
The internal rules of the Court of Appeals dictates for the reception of evidence in actions in which the Court of Appeals has original jurisdiction, like certiorari, prohibition, mandamus, quo warranto, habeas corpus. It can also act on criminal cases based on newly discovered evidence. That's the second honor, and in civil cases in which there is also newly discovered evidence, Your Honor. Those are the three instances in which the Court of Appeals may mandatorily receive evidence.
I see. In the last portion of number 3 in criminal cases, what was added there?
Yes, Your Honor, there was this another which was added.
Yes. Oh, do you remember?
I could not very well remember that. Otherwise, I'll be guessing, Your Honor.
You do not want to guess for you in case of damages
Yes, yes, excessive
resulting to
damages.
provisional remedies.
Remedies.
Now you remember.
Yes, I remember it now, Your
You
Honor.
remember. Oh,
Thank you.
you're also applying in the Court of Tax Appeals, no? Okay, your husband is a businessman.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is the nature of his business?
For Japanese languages, Your Honor.
Japanese languages.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
that's his business. Oh. Uh, do you call that interest calculated or computed for the purpose of determining opportunity cost of investing funds in a given business? What is that?
I am not familiar with that concept, Your Honor.
You did not study tax or
I studied, Your Honor.
you
Actually,
studied
even the recent jurisprudence, but not your question, Your Honor.
Oh, it's theoretical interest. I think you came across that term, theoretical interest. Oh, who is the author of the books you read?
I relied so much, Your Honor, in the internal rules of the Court of Tax Appeals and the jurisprudence, Your Honor.
Oh, you did borrow the book of Justice Di Maampao?
No,
He is
Your
in the Court of
Honor.
Appeals. Oh, okay. What is this? Can what do you call that tax assessment without the benefit of an audit?
I haven't encountered that, Your Honor.
Also, so you did not read also the book of Justice Di Maampao.
I couldn't find so much, Your Honor, in the jurisprudence.
Jeopardy assessment.
So party
Anyway,
assessment. Thank you, Your Honor.
we will go to something that you studied the Court of Tax Appeals, right?
I studied
Yes.
some, Your Honor.
No, some Court of Appeals, and you read the internal rules. No, you read the internal rules.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. What if after a decision what is the remedy for taxpayer where a decision, adverse decision of a CTA division is issued? What is the remedy?
For the Court of Tax Appeals in Division, Your Honor, just the
Yes.
same, it can be elevated through the Court of Tax Appeals and Bank, Your Honor.
What do you call the remedy?
An appeal, Your Honor. It really
Appeal or petition for review?
petition for review.
For the review.
It really interests me that in that appellate court, the decision of a division can be
Appeal.
appealed or can be the subject of a petition for review before the ANBank, Your
So-
Honor.
So, what do you file in the court and bank, CTA and bank? What do you file? What was your answer earlier? You can appeal?
A petition for review, Your Honor,
petition
before
for
the
review.
Court of
You
Tax
file a
Appeals and
petition
Bank.
for review. You cannot appeal?
I am not
File an
certain, Your
appeal?
Honor. It just, all I know, Your Honor, is that
Why are you
the
not
decision-
certain? You have been studying since July.
I could not cover everything, and I could not really read all the minds of the legal luminaries of JBC, Your Honor.
Only it's in the same line.
I prepared
It
a
is,
lot,
it is,
but,
it is an
those-
it is an appeal, but the mode of appeal is a petition for review.
Thank you,
It's
Your
in the same line. You got confused?
It's I confine on having this division, court in division being elevated to the court and bank.
I see. Okay.
Unlike for other appellate courts.
I think you read that provision. That appeal, what is the procedure?
What is the
The procedure regarding that appeal? That mode of remedy, that petition for review, what is the procedure? Stated in the law itself. Section 11, which you read.
Your Honor, I just confine
Oh.
my knowledge as to that decision of the division being assumed by the court and bank. That's what I know, and then I read
Nandun,
the
if you
basic.
if you read section 11, it says that the procedure is the same as that of Rule 42 of the Court of Appeals, right?
Actually, Your Honor, there are so many
Yes.
adoptions of the
Ah.
revised rules to the rules of the Court of Tax
Court of Tax Appeals, very good. Oo. So, everything under Rule 42. What are the two modes of procedure? I'm asking you now that there are two. So, one is procedure under Rule 42. What is the other? O giveaway na yan.
For Court of Tax Appeals, Your Honor.
Yes, so in petition for review under Rule 42, yung appeal. It is an appeal. The mode of appeal is a petition under Rule 42. What is the other one?
If I would be guessing, Your Honor, just the same.
Do not, yes. You read it, di ba? Section 11?
I was not able to read that, Your Honor. I would be very honest.
Oh, what? Oh, I thought you read that. Yung appeal lang from the CTA division to the CTA and back.
There are many enumerations, Your Honor, of those adoptions of the revised.
Only two. Oh. Sige, the other one is the procedure provided under Rule 43 with respect to what?
Quasi-judicial agencies, Your
Oh,
Honor.
you see? You remember? Oh,
Because of
relax
the
lang,
internal rules of the Court of Appeals, Your Honor, not
Oo,
because of the CTA.
Ninenervyos ka eh. Oo. Oh, sige. Yung there's so many other, di ba, under the internal rules of the Court of Tax Appeals, It is provided that the rules of court shall be suppletorily applied.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Suppose the decision of the Court of Tax Appeals Division has already become final and executory, but there is extrinsic fraud. Can you avail of the annulment of judgment?
Annulment of
Or
judgment.
by suppletorily applying it? Can you suppletorily apply it?
Annulment of judgment, Your Honor.
Yes, yes.
Was
Can you do
just
that? Because it was the decision of the CTA division became final and executory. Now, when you are in the Court of Appeals, you can avail of the annulment of judgment for lack of jurisdiction and or extrinsic fraud. Now, the decision of the CTA division became final and executory. You can no longer appeal. Can you file an annulment of judgment before the CTA and bank on the grounds of extrinsic fraud?
I must believe that it only confined to the Court of Tax Appeals as its exclusive original jurisdiction, Your Honor.
Pardon?
It will only be redound to decisions of the regional trial courts then.
No, the decision here is a decision of the Court of Tax Appeals Division. It is
Not
already
anymore, Your
final.
Honor.
Yes, it is
Your
already
Honor, I
final. Cannot appeal to
Yes,
the
Your Honor.
CTA and bank. Now, under the rules of the internal rules of the Court of Appeals, the rules of court is suppletorily applied. It can be suppletorily applied. Now, can a taxpayer file an annulment of the judgment of the CTA division to the CTA and bank on the ground of extrinsic fraud?
As an appellate court of the decisions of the court in division, such is not provided in the internal rules of the Court of Tax Appeals. And
It is not provided in the internal rules. You cannot apply it. What is that provision for? Section 2, I think, or section 3, that you can apply it suppletorily.
though there is this suppletory application, Your Honor, I haven't encountered a case in which the CTA and bank assumed CTA in division decisions.
You have not encountered. Suppose you were appointed.
I can adapt it as a reform, Your Honor. That
Adapt it as a
suppletory
reform.
application.
Suppose no reform yet. We're not able to change the law.
I would
if a
abide by the
petition,
law.
CTA SM Bank, you will be, if you are a member of a CTA division, you are also a member of the CTA and bank, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So, will you give due course to the petition for annulment of judgment because there was an extrinsic fraud?
If only the supplementary application of the
Yes.
internal rules of the Court of Appeals can be applied, I would be adhering to it. The same circumstances apply to the Court of Appeals, Your Honor.
Now, so you can apply it?
Yes, Your Honor.
On what grounds?
That just the same, the party or the aggrieved party was deprived of his day in court.
For that reason, you will allow a petition for annulment of judgment of a CTA division. Correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh. you have not read the case of CIR versus Ilihan. It says that you cannot entertain such action, correct?
I haven't read that, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
but what do you think? What was the reason of the Supreme Court in saying that
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 is
the
only,
CTA cannot entertain such petition?
I haven't read, Your Honor, that
No.
case.
Just your guess.
Because everyone must be knowledgeable of the law, and so no one can claim that he does not know the law.
Just very basic principle. Jurisdiction is conferred by law,
Jurisdiction is conferred by law.
and the law has not conferred it on the Court of
Court
Tax
of Tax
Appeals.
Appeals. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Was it conferred by law on the Court of Appeals?
Yes, Your Honor.
Or what law?
Under the revised rules, Your Honor, and even in the
Oh, the
internal
rules
rules of the Court of Appeals.
Yes, internal rules of the Court of Appeals are promulgated by the Court of Appeals, and the rules of court are promulgated by the Supreme Court, correct?
Yes, Your
Under
Honor.
the rule-making power. But you said jurisdiction is conferred by law. What law conferred it on the Court of Appeals?
That law which constituted the Court of Appeals, Your Honor.
So it's not because of the rules.
Even suppletorily by the revised rules.
You remember 129, PD 129?
Yes, Your Honor. Batas Pambansa
Relax.
Bilang 129.
Relax lang. It was the law because it was conferred by law on the Court of Tax Appeals, and it was not conferred by law on the CTA. We have no time. So many more questions on Sandigan
Thank you very
Bayan.
much, Your Honor.
Oo. Sige, na ba? Hihingi yata si Judge na extension.
No, I'm not asking for any extension, Your
No
Honor.
extension.
I want really to end this because of the complex questions that every...
No simple question lang. I got it from
They
what
are
Shen said.
complicated questions, Your Honor.
Anyway, you answered them.
Thank you, Your Honor. I
Yes.
really prepared a lot, but my preparation did not then pass on to your knowledge.
Sometimes your intonation is now an Ilongga.
No, I'm
Malambing.
not an Ilongga.
But I know your parents are both from Bawan. You did not grow up in Bawan.
They both hail in Bawan, Your Honor.
Yes, but you did not grow up there.
I grew up there, Your Honor.
But you did not study elementary there.
I studied elementary. There was this Rizal Elementary School also in Bawan, Batangas, Your Honor.
Rizal Elementary School is also located in Bawan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sige. That will be all unless you
Thank you
ask for
very much.
another.
I'm not asking for any extension, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Sige, your excuse.
Thank you.
But I would like to ask some questions
wait, si Chief Justice.
because you did not ask questions about Sandigan Bayan, eh. So I
Hindi
will
nga,
ask.
I wanted to.
Good
Si Chief yan.
afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. You know, my monitor is open, eh, and I've been listening. Except that this morning I have to deliver a lecture the whole day, and then we just finished the lecture now. So when I came inside the room, and I was listening to your questions, and you were only concentrating on some procedural aspects in the Sandigan Bayan. I mean, in the Court of Tax Appeals.
And Court of Appeals.
And you have not asked questions. Okay.
Naubusan time, Chief, eh.
Di simple lang sa akin, just simple lang so that the listeners also will understand the procedure in Sandigan Bayan, because there have been questions raised on some of the procedures that we have adopted and also the internal rules that we have incorporated. Ano? So may I ask just few questions lang, Judge Mir, ano? So you have been an RTC judge for 5 years?
More
5
than
years?
5 years, Chief Justice.
Did you start as an NTC judge?
Yes, Chief Justice, and actually I started from the highest court of the land, from the Supreme Court.
So you were with us for how many years?
Chief Justice, for more than a decade.
And then when were you assigned? When were you appointed as an NTC judge?
5 years ago, Your Honor.
Where-
5 years
where-
ago,
where-
Chief Justice.
Where were you assigned?
Metropolitan Trial Court of Manila. I was also acting presiding judge of Pasay City, Chief
Yeah.
Justice.
Yeah, I know your name seems familiar to me, no? You Judge Mir, no? I just want to ask you some questions on the Sandigan Bayan, no? You are aware that, of course, to have a quorum in the Sandigan Bayan or even in the Court of Tax Appeals, there should be 3, no, to form a quorum. Yeah, that's also true in the,
Chief
yeah,
Justice.
3. But there is now a new provision that 2 justices may receive evidence during a trial. That's a new provision in the Sandigan Bayan law, where the Sandigan now is allowed to hear cases even if there are only 2 available justices in case of 3. Are you aware of that provision?
Yes, Chief Justice.
Okay. Oh, that's also true in the Court of Tax Appeals, no? Or maybe receive 2. Okay. What about if it comes now to a resolution or in a decision? Does the law allow 2 justices in order to have a valid judgment or a decision?
From my readings, Chief Justice, the concurrence of the 3 justices must be present, even though reception of evidence may be done by 2 justices. But in order to have the promulgation of a decision, the concurrence of the 3 justices must be present.
Yeah. But supposing in a hearing when there are only 2 justices, no? One, they do not agree on a motion that may be raised during the hearing, and therefore there are only 2. How will you resolve?
Chief Justice, in the internal rules, only decisions must be concurred in by 3 justices. I must believe that for
my problem,
motions,
yeah. Supposing
that
there is
for
an
motions,
Supposing there is an objection during the trial, the presiding officer says, okay, objection is sustained, but the other justice says, no, the objection should not be sustained, it should be rejected. So how will they resolve the issue? Because there are only 2. The law does not provide. I think they did
yes,
not. I think they
there
did not
is no-
anticipate that. I think they did not anticipate that. The other concern is that in what situations will the law allow the conduct of a hearing involving only two justices? Is it a matter of choice or is it a matter of urgency? In other words, the problem that might crop up is that the 3 justices may agree to have a leave of absence, a long period of absence during a hearing, and anyway, there will be only 2. Well, only 2 justices may conduct a hearing. Supposing among themselves they agree, bakasyon ako ng 2 linggo, 2 muna kayo. Then the other one, magbakasyon ako, 2 linggo, and so on. Anyway, 2 justices are allowed to hear the case. Would that be allowed?
in
Under
the
the setup.
internal rules which you yourself introduced together with other justices of the High Court, Chief Justice, I must believe that there was no mention.
Yeah. So the absence of one should only be an urgency. I mean, the absence is actually urgent. In other words, if one of the justices is sick or he is on the official leave, those are the only situations where probably two justices are allowed to hear. So it should be by reason of urgency because the witness is already there and therefore one justice is sick, then they go ahead. But it cannot be planned out among themselves because that will
Yes,
be
Chief Justice.
I think that's not the purpose of the law. So if you join the Sandigan Bayan, can you spearhead a move that it is only in urgent matters where two justices will be allowed to hear cases, and not only when the justice is on wellness leave or when one of the justices is sick or and so on, where two justices will be allowed to hear cases. Can you spearhead that move?
Relying on that reform that
Yes.
you yourself, Chief Justice, thought is sound, then I think as a new member, I could spearhead that, Chief Justice.
Yeah, I think that's why I asked you that question, especially that you came from the Supreme Court. There are instances where a justice is absent, no? And therefore we can proceed as long as there is a quorum of 3, no? Because there's a new
Yes,
in the internal
Chief
rules.
Justice.
But only in those instances where a justice cannot attend the hearing because of wellness leave or sick leave or an official leave.
Yes, Chief
That's what we are
Justice.
doing in the Supreme Court. If one is absent or an official leave or is sick, then we can proceed with the justice being absent during the deliberation, no? Kasi mahirap yung pag-uusapan eh. Because there might be a question that might be raised before the Supreme Court. Baka may magre-raise ng question yan eh. Bakit it's already a practice that pwede naman yung dalawa, ikaw na lang muna. Baka ganun eh. And it may happen. Di ba?
Yes, Chief
Yes, okay.
Justice.
Now, the other question I will ask you, probably even the justices from the Court of Appeals, they have encountered this problem, no? So, practitioners do not, nagkakamali pa rin yung procedure eh. Supposing it is a case decided by the RTC, convicting a government employee, ang ginagawa ng mga lawyers minsan, they file the appeal before the Court of Appeals eh. May nangyayari yan. And ang ginagawa ng Court of Appeals, with the Court of Appeals, dinidismiss nila on the ground that the appeal should be filed before the Sandigan Bayan because it involves a public official. Okay. If we are now in the Court of Appeals, and therefore the appeal was wrongly filed before the Court of Appeals, what are you going to do? Are you going to remand the case to the Sandigan Bayan? Or are you going to dismiss it on the ground that it was filed before the Court of Appeals where it has no jurisdiction?
I would be adhering to the substantial interest, Chief Justice. I could very well then transmit the case to the Sandigan Bayan as a reform because I believe there is yet no such kind of law allowing the transmitting of the records or of the case to Sandigan Bayan. But of course, the people must not be deprived of the resources. And if really there was conviction, the same must be under the jurisdiction of the Sandigan Bayan Chief Justice.
So in other words, you will not dismiss the case.
Yes, Chief Justice.
You will transmit the records to the Sandigan Bayan on the ground that the appeal should have been filed before the Sandigan Bayan.
Chief Justice, it is exceptional. It is not conferred by law, but so long as there could be reforms to the internal rules of the Sandigan Bayan, I could very well propose the same, Chief Justice.
That is happening eh. Walang rule eh. It's not yet a rule. It's already, some cases are being filed in the Court of Appeals eh. Even cases emanating from the RTC on tax cases, especially questions on real property taxes, karamihan dyan sa RTC pinapile yan eh. But the appeal in the resolution of the RTC or the CRR pertaining to tax, i-appeal sa CTA eh. Meron pa rin pumunta sa Court of Appeals eh.
Strictly, Chief Justice, the same must be dismissed for lack of jurisdiction.
Yeah,
Jurisdiction
but,
is conferred by law.
procedural law merely intended to have a smooth procedure in the courts. Yun ang purpose ng procedural law. And this one involves a substantive right because he's already convicted. Are you not going to give him the chance to prove that he's actually innocent?
Unless the laws are amended, Your Honor, just the same, I would be adhering to the Batas Pambansa Bilang 129 on the jurisdiction of the Court
Paano
of
yan
Appeals.
kung he was wrongly convicted by the RTC? A public official now goes to the Court of Appeals. You look at the records. Dapat ito pala na-acquit And then you say, you filed the case before the Court of Appeals. We do not have your dismiss. What will happen to him? He will go to prison. He will serve his prison.
I understand,
So
Chief
between
Justice.
his right to be free, to be free, enjoy liberty, and the procedural rules will prevail.
I must understand
Hindi ba yung freedom niya?
procedural law, Chief Justice, but for the meantime, I would be adhering with the law. I could even be administratively
No, you
dealt
cannot
with.
be administrative judge. What charge hindi ka naman ma-charge yun Ano yung charge sa'yo?
Gross ignorance of the law, Your Honor.
On the ground that, well, can you not justify? Can you not say, anyway, the appeal was filed within the reglementary period, and therefore the appellant did not intend to violate the procedural law because he thought all the while that it was filed within the certain period of time, and therefore, had this case been filed before the Sandigan Bayan, sasabihin mo yon, that appeal should have been entertained. Can you not do that? Do you think
Unless the laws are amended, Chief Justice, not that I can do that, but of course it could be then the subject of the rulemaking power of the highest court of the land. That
there are cases that are even in the law on the new law on jurisdiction of the Sandigan Bayan, because there is now a law where a case may be filed in the RTC now.
yes,
And the case should be filed with the nearest court or nearest judicial region. It's not in the place where the commission of the crime now under the new law. And in that law, and even in our proceedings, if the case was filed wrongly in that court, the court will not dismiss the case. He will refer the case where the case should be properly filed under the law. In some instances, the law allows it. So anyway,
only the substantive interest will prevail, Chief Justice, then the procedural law must submit to the
Yun ang unang sagot mo Nagpalit ka lang Di ba? You try to, I'm not saying that you should do that, but these are, alam ni Justice Mendoza yan Marami nagkakamali yan.
Villanueva case, we decided.
Yeah,
Villanueva case. It was wrongfully filed before the Court of Appeals.
What did we do, Justice Mendoza?
The Supreme Court allowed the appeal to the Sandigan Bayan.
Yeah. Because of substantive freedom kasi yan Yung procedure only for purposes of having a smooth proceedings Yun ang purpose Okay, so let's go to another
Inabutan ni Chief.
Maganda yan because
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Now this is another one we revised the internal rules. I don't know if the decision by the Sandigan Bayan is rendered in the exercise of its original jurisdiction in criminal cases this is not true to civil cases in the exercise of its original jurisdiction in criminal cases. The remedy now is ordinary appeal under the old internal rules, Rule 45 yan and I do not know if you have read some of our decisions why we went to an ordinary appeal. Alam mo ba yun, Judge? Kung bakit?
Considering, of course, that it involves questions of facts and law. So, not only on pure questions of law, Chief Justice.
Di ka dito yan So anyway, I will not ask you that, but we have not read the case. But before, lahat ng decisions ng Sandigan Bayan in criminal cases, whether in the exercise of original jurisdiction or appellate jurisdiction, ang nakalagay sa law is Rule 45.
On questions of law.
Yeah, so that's question of law. But we made a modification that in the exercise of original jurisdiction by the Sandigan Bayan, it should be an ordinary appeal. But in the exercise of its appellate jurisdiction, Rule 45 yan. Okay. Ito na ngayon ang question. The provision as to the remedies, or remedies available in Sandigan Bayan, provided for by law. Ang nakalagay sa law, decisions of the Sandigan Bayan can be brought to the Supreme Court under Rule 45 ang nakalagay doon. But we changed that. Nilagay namin sa internal rules, nag-distinguish kami ng we distinguish between original jurisdiction at saka concurrent jurisdiction. So yung original jurisdiction naging ordinary appeal, yung in the exercise of appellate jurisdiction, Rule 45. Okay. Meron ang tanong, can the court come out with a rule to that effect, practically inconsistent with the provision in the law? Because the law says, Rule 45, in all decisions of the Sandigan Bayan, the remedy to question the decision is Rule 45. E nagsingit kami ng appellate original jurisdiction in criminal cases, ordinary appeal. Oh, nag-conflict na yun. How will you resolve that?
The inherent power of the Sandigan Bayan to promulgate rules and regulations governing the cases before that would justify such distinction, Chief Justice, that in the exercise of the original jurisdiction, the recourse is an appeal, but for those other cases, Rule 45 on petition for review shall be the remedy.
Hindi ang Sandigan Bayan that has the power. It's the Supreme Court that has the power to promulgate rules, di ba?
Yes.
The Supreme Court can do that because the power to promulgate rules pertaining to practice, pleadings,
Governing the Sandigan Bayan.
belongs to the Supreme Court.
Yes,
belongs to
Chief
the Supreme
Justice.
Court. So we are supreme to the legislative body so far as procedural rules tayo yan eh. So they cannot question that because that's a power inherent or provided for in the Constitution. Kaya magandang Supreme Court because we are powerful in so far as procedural rules are concerned. Last question. You have been an MTC judge, Now you are an RTC judge. Can we adopt a provision in the rules of court that all cases of all criminal cases will no longer undergo preliminary investigation, and then cases will be directly filed with the first level courts? In other words, those cases cognizable by the first level courts, of course, cases will still be filed with the fiscal's office, di ba? Ngunit wala ng PI. If they find probable cause from the complaint and the evidence attached to the complaint, file na sa MTC. Hindi ko na you do not anymore require the respondent to submit a countervailing evidence. So the filing is merely based on. Can we do that?
Actually, the rules sanction the filing of the case before the Metropolitan Trial Court even without the conduct of the preliminary investigation, Chief Justice.
That can be done.
Yes, Chief Justice.
In fact, under the rules naman 4 years, 2 months below directly filed. We just want that all cases now will no longer pass through the regular PI but file now. I'm telling this is not under the rule, but I just want to get your opinion because you were a first level court. Okay. If that is the case, if there is now a decision of the first level court convicting the accused, diba? Convicting the accused. What is the remedy of the convicted accused? He'll go to the RTC, diba?
Yes, Chief Justice.
Under what procedure?
Just the same under BP 129.
129. Ano nga? Appeal.
Yes, Chief
Okay.
Justice.
Okay, you go to the RTC. Okay. If the RTC decides the case and affirms in toto the finding of facts of the first level courts, di ba? Under the present rule, ano ang remedy? Is still convicted. The factual issues or the factual findings of the first level court affirm in toto. The accused would like to go to the Court of Appeals. Oh. So the decision of the RTC now is rendered in the exercise of each appellate jurisdiction. So anong remedy na niya ngayon papunta sa Court of Appeals if he wants to question it?
Just the same, Chief Justice, an appeal and
Pag sinabi mong appeal, hindi pwede uulitin na naman yung question of facts dun.
Rule 45, Chief Justice.
So more question of law, ano ba yun?
Yes, Chief Justice.
Supposing we come out now with a new provision that if the judgment of conviction is sustained by the RTC, sustained by the RTC, and the finding of facts in toto sustained by the RTC, can we come out with the rule that the finding of facts of the RTC affirming in toto the finding of facts of the first level court findings are final and executory? Can we do that? Final and executory na yung finding of facts. Still convicted, the same facts, findings of facts, the same, in toto, convicted.
The current law.
Findings of facts, final and executory. Pwede ba yun?
The same can be done, Chief Justice. As it would not be.
If that can be done, ano nang remedy ng akusado? What's the remedy of the accused? Finding of facts, final executory. Papunta sa Court of Appeals, anong remedy? Wala na ba? We can only raise question of law. Di ba?
Yes, Chief Justice.
We can no longer go to the Court of Appeals unlike now. Pwede pa rin questionin ng finding of facts kahit na sustained by the so that can be done. Final executory. So what would be the remedy? Question of law lang raise niya. Can we not allow Rule 65?
Yes, Chief Justice, based on grave abuse of discretion.
On the ground that the RTC gravely abused discretion in rendering a decision, like what we do in labor cases.
Which amounted to lack or excess of jurisdiction. The same can be done. Yes, Chief Justice.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just getting your opinion because we are in the process of reviewing some of the rules. And you've been a first level court judge and now you are a second level court judge. I know that you know a lot of rules based on your experience, not only as a law clerk in the Supreme Court, but also as a veteran judge.
I am not, Chief Justice.
What? A veteran?
I am not a veteran.
Anong tawag sa inyo? Junior veteran? Because you give us a lot of suggestions based from your answer. I get a lot from you. So now my last question is this: there are so many applicants now. I was reading ilang mga applicants dito. Ang dami
Dami.
Around 53. And how many vacancies are we going to fill up?
For the Court of Appeals, there are 6. For the Court of Tax Appeals, 1. For the Sandigan Bayan, 2.
So you can just imagine 8 or 9 only with 53 applicants.
64, Chief Justice.
Chief, for interview lang yun. Others are accepted.
Yeah, I know. I thought 53 lang. Ang dami. So,
Dami.
you have been a judge for 5 years. What shall we do to those judges who have been with the RTC for 11 years, 12 years? what can you suggest so
Chief
that
Justice.
you can be in good competition with all these judges who have been with us for 10 years, 11 years, meron pang 15 years dito eh.
Chief Justice, I would be
Yes.
invoking careerism, and I also started from the highest court of the land. I went to the Court of Appeals. I again went to the High Court, and then I went to the Metropolitan Trial Court, and then I am now at the Regional Trial Court, Chief Justice.
Yeah. Oh, I see in the list eh, meron 12 years, 18 years, Judge Aguinaldo 18 years, Judge Alaras 16 years. There are many, you know, Chuacheng 15 years. Eh, fiscal dati ni Justice Mendoza ito. I know her very well, no? She was my former student eh. Tapos meron 14 years. Nako, si Danny Cruz is 21 years. Well, there are many applicants who have been with us for more than 10 years. Not lahat. I hope I hope and I hope that your experience as an MTC judge and also as a law clerk in the Supreme Court will count, so that you can compete with those who have been with us for more than 10 years, 13 years. Marami eh.
I've been to those four
19
courts,
years,
Chief
no?
Justice.
Yes.
I've been to those four courts, Chief Justice.
Yeah.
I've been 22 years already in the judiciary.
Yeah. Justice Judge Jocelyn Reyes, 15 years. Ito ata yung Ampatuan, di ba? Ito ba yung sa Patuan? Judge Ampatuan ba ito?
Yes, Chief
Ampatuan,
Justice.
Jocelyn, yeah. May 23 years, oh. Judge Omar Biola. I'm not saying that they are more qualified than you, but I have to ask you this because I know that you have also other qualifications, probably better than the others. No? I'm not saying that you don't have a good chance. You have a good chance because you have been performing well, and also been with the court, not only with the first level and second level courts, but with the Supreme Court. So with that,
And even in the Court of Appeals, Chief Justice.
pero ba? Bakit? Oh, magaling ba mga taga-Court of Appeals?
Yes, Chief Justice. Can you just legal luminaries,
Yeah.
Justice Noel Jimenez and Justice Catral Mendoza, they are products of this
Yeah.
reputable
No, they are
Court of Tax Appeals, and they are now being
yes, I know.
scrutinizing
Yes,
you.
I know. They are the best eh. But you are not mentioning my wife eh.
And even Justice Fernanda Lampas Peralta. Actually,
Okay, you are intelligent. I know you're intelligent. I was reading your biodata, and we will try to determine or those qualified, and we will consider all factors, not only seniority. So that's all, Judge.
Honor to them.
thank you very much,
Stay
Chief Justice.
stay-
Thank you very
stay
much,
safe and good
Justice
luck. Okay.
Mendoza.
Oh, my kababayan from Bawan.
Thank you very much, Justice Mendoza.
Ilocana ba?
Welcome, always welcome.
She's an Ilocana?
No,
I'm
from
a
Bawan.
Batangueña.
Bawan,
Justice.
Batangas. Bawan, Batangas.
Okay.
From
Okay,
Bawan.
thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you.
much, Your Honor, Chief Justice Peralta.
Thank you.
That
Ate-
concludes the public panel interview of Honorable Judge Phoebe Mir. Thank you and Godspeed, Judge Mir.
Thank you very much, Attorney Capacite.
That winds up the third of the 13-day series of public panel interview of aspirants for the collegiate courts. We shall resume on Wednesday, December 2 at 9 o'clock in the morning. Thank you very much and have a wonderful